Hi, everybody, and welcome to J. Doyle Field in East Brunswick. It's Snapple Bowl 19. I'm Mike Pavlichko alongside Sayreville head coach George Najar, who is going to be my color commentator for tonight. So glad you joined us for Snapple Bowl 19, a game that is a lot of fun for charity, and there are a lot of fans here set to see what is probably going to be some pretty good football. It's always a fun game between these two sides, Union All-Stars and Middlesex All-Stars. All these seniors, some will be playing for the last time, some will be going on to play in college, and maybe not necessarily football. And George Najar, the head coach of Sayreville, whose team won a state championship last year, has been to all of these Snapple Bowls, and these are fun games to watch, aren't they?
They're a wonderful experience for these kids. It might be the last time they strap on pads, as you say, and they get a chance to let it all fly. And I think the fans enjoy it, and I think all the people that come in preparation for it is really enjoyable because these players get a chance to play with kids they competed with over maybe the last 3 or 4 years.
That's true, and let it all fly is kind of the key word here because you never know what to expect in these games. When you're watching a regular high school football team, you can look at film and you can figure out what somebody's going to throw at you. But when these two sides get together for 2 weeks to practice, it's hard to tell what the other side's going to do.
Absolutely, and they put in a lot of gadget plays. They put in things that you might not ordinarily see that teams get ready for. And I think that in these games, they're wide open, so they just come up with things, and whatever the talent allows them to do, that's what they do.
There's going to be a lot of special stuff here tonight, including my color commentator here tonight who'll be honored at halftime as Middlesex County Coach of the Year. 17 seasons at Sayreville and just one losing season in his first year. Other than that, 3 state championships. Pretty good. So he'll be honored at halftime. There'll be other stuff going on at halftime we'll tell you all about during Snapple Bowl 19 coming up in just a couple of moments. Welcome back, and we are all set to go. We will kick off Snapple Bowl 19 in just a moment. Union won the coin toss, and they've elected to receive. They trail the series 10-8. They won last year, but Middlesex had won the 5 before. So the Middlesex side has won 5 of 6 in this series. And we are just about set to go and back deep to return the opening kickoff for the Union All-Stars, Hakeem Cornegay and James O'Rourke out of Westfield and Cornegay out of Rahway. And we are set to go with the Middlesex All-Stars at home in the traditional navy blue with the white pants, and in the white, the road team for the Union All-Stars, who again won last year up at Canaan. Boy, what a sweltering night it was last year. This year, not so much. And we have the kickoff. Check that. Cody Salazar with the kick, and it's out on the far sideline. It looks like Union has touched it, and Middlesex was able to recover it. George Najar, my color commentator here tonight from Sayreville High School, the head coach. A good start for Middlesex. A kick to the far sideline, and a little butterfingers, maybe some jitters here on the first play of the game.
I think that was a planned play. I think they wanted to kick it short. They probably don't have a kick player. They think they went to recover it. And it was a nice job by them. They know that a free kick, after the ball goes 10 yards, it's a free ball, and anybody can recover it. And Middlesex was alert enough to go get it.
So Middlesex is going to start out on offense in this game. It'll be 1st and 10 at the 23-yard line for the Middlesex All-Stars. And here in Snapple Bowl 19, the starting quarterback for the Middlesex side is going to be Kyle Anderson. All these are seniors who are either going on to college to play or not play, but all are seniors. And Kyle Anderson, the quarterback, takes a snap, and we've got a handoff on the play. And this is a new thing that they did a couple of years ago for Middlesex. Chris Kania from East Brunswick, it's a special play that they've devised for him to take the first play of the game and run it into a touchdown, and a nice thing that they've done for Chris a couple of years ago, and he gets to run the first play, and now it'll be, he always does that on the Middlesex first offensive play, so now we'll have the first official play of the ball game.
It's a very nice gesture that they do that. Chris has worked hard over the course of the years he's been in East Brunswick, and it's nice to see him get some recognition.
All right, so now we have the first official play And it will be Anderson under center with 3 backs. And a handoff comes around the right side. It's Kenny Verdon out of Bishop R, who gets down to the 10-yard line and picks up a first down. And a nice run there. Nobody able to pick him up right off the handoff. And he gets a 13-yard gain on first down.
They went to the double tight end wishbone, an East Brunswick staple, and they're running right at the Union team.
So a 13-yard gain on the first official play from scrimmage for Middlesex. 1st and 10 coming up just outside the 10-yard line. So it's not a 1st and goal situation here.
They're in the bone again. This time they're going unbalanced left.
Anderson's under center. There's the handoff. Goes left side, and getting close to the goal line that time was Azim Blakey. 6', 215 out of South Brunswick.
I think they caught that Union team off guard. They went unbalanced line. There was very little adjustment, and they were able to pound the ball off tackle. Pick up valuable yardage inside the 10. They're inside the 5-yard line right now.
Kyle Anderson with a couple of handoffs. He is a big passer, breaking most school records this year for Woodbridge. Some career marks and some single season marks. The handoff up the middle and not much that time.
The Union team got some penetration between the guard and tackle, and they were able to upend that fullback right before he got to the goal line.
Short field, and you wouldn't expect Anderson would throw much here, but certainly they've got that capability. The same thing with the other quarterback you'll see tonight, Faustino Saucedo out of Perth Amboy. Threw for 1,800 yards plus this past season. Anderson this season threw for over 2,100 yards.
They have a very short 3rd and short yardage here. You might see a quarterback sneak, and they went unbalanced again to the left.
They only have inches between that first down marker and the goal line. And the handoff, Middlesex calling for a touchdown, and they've got it. Touchdown Middlesex. And Isaiah Johnson, Anderson's teammate for the Barons, 5'9", 180, gets the score, and it's 6-0 early. Middlesex leading Union. Didn't look too hard. They made it look easy.
They certainly did, and they went unbalanced left that time, but they ran back to the weak side, assuming that Union would adjust to the unbalance, and they found the seam off tackle.
So Isaiah Johnson picks up the touchdown. And now for the extra point, the kick is up, and it is good.
There was some penetration, but they were able to get the kick off. And in games like this, special teams become crucial because a lot of times you don't get an opportunity to practice them that often. So to be able to, so in the opening kickoff, special teams could be a factor in this game.
That was an all Woodbridge touchdown. It was Anderson handing to Johnson, and then another Baron teammate, Cody Zalazar, 5'9", 165 out of Woodbridge with over 1,000 receiving yards this year. He and Anderson made a heck of a team this year, and between the two of them, Zalazar 1,000 receiving yards, Anderson 2,100 plus rushing yards, and both ranking in the top 10 of the last 10 years in those respective departments in Middlesex County. 15 touchdown catches for Zalazar, and he does handle the kicking duties as well. And Anderson threw 26 touchdown passes this past season, 58 in his career, both school records.
Unbelievable season he's had. He's had a great career. They started as a sophomore, and he had 3 spectacular seasons in Middlesex County.
First quarter, minute 59 gone by. And the kick goes to the far side and fielded at the 12-yard line. And to about the 30 on the play was Cornegay. And that is where the Union offense will start out. And Hakeem Cornegay will be the starting quarterback here, the first chance on offense, although they've taken 2 kickoffs already. The first on the opening play of the game, Middlesex recovered and was able to punch it in for the score. So Cornegay, the quarterback, 5'8", 165 out of Broadway. It'll be a 3-back set. Chris Whitwick out of Cranford and Andrew Romeo out of Governor Livingston. James O'Rourke will round out the backfield, a slot back, 5'5", 165, over 1,100 rushing yards this past season. He can throw the ball too, and he's done it. 1st and 10 from their own 30 as Union will start out. And the handoff comes to the near side. It's O'Rourke, and O'Rourke gets wrapped up maybe a gain of a yard. Big hit there by Jamel Daniels out of Old Bridge, defensive end. You've seen him, no doubt, this past season from the Knights.
What speed he has. He ran that play down. They ran the jet sweep to the wide side of the field, and they had everybody blocked in the secondary, but he was able to come down the line and make that play.
The other quarterback you'll see for Union County, and these quarterbacks often will trade series or every other series. Dijon Allen Jordan out of Plainfield, who's not too bad of a basketball player either, is on that Tournament of Champions final team, 6'5", 180. That's a big, tall, lanky kid. Second down at a long 9. Handoff, and now an option pass, and it's down the right side. It's picked off at the 47 by Middlesex.
They tried to fool him with the jet sweep pass, but Middlesex was back, and they stayed in the area, and they never fell for it, and they got intercepted. They played it very, very well.
Darrell Harper out of South Brunswick, 5'11", 175. Also a running back. Ran for 670 yards and 12 touchdowns and 8.5 yards a carry, but playing at the cornerback spot, and he gets Middlesex set up on offense again with 11:57 to go here in this first quarter. And it should be noted, since we've played a while now and there's 11:57 left in the quarter, they don't play 12-minute quarters here.
They go to 15-minute quarters, and that's a very good thing for these kids because it's their last game for many of them, and the fact that if they are going to college, they have to get used to playing 15-minute quarters anyway.
That's true. An interesting transition, but you've had a number of players who've gone on to play big-time college football.
Yeah, and it's great to watch them.
Tell these guys to get on the bench. Listen.
It'll be a first down for Middlesex now here, and a high snap, and missing the chance to fall on it as Middlesex. Looks like Union will have it. Union has recovered the football. So a couple early turnovers here. Mike LaFace out of Westfield, a defensive end.
One of the problems you have when you have a new center, a new quarterback, and they're not used to working with each other, shotgun snaps could be a problem. Even under center snaps could be a problem. And that was evident in that particular play right there.
This is all part of just having 2 weeks. You wish you had 2 years. You still have that problem if you have players for 2 years, don't you?
That's right. And
we're missing another end here.
It's something a lot of people take for granted, that center snap.
We're missing a D.
It'll be a 1st and 10 now for the Union County offense, which has only run 2 plays so far in this ball game. They're inside the Middlesex 45 on a fumble recovery. And it's Dijon Allen Jordan, the quarterback, who will keep it and roll out left and get inside the 30-yard line before he's dragged out of bounds. Christian Thomas, Middlesex linebacker out of Colonia High School, 6'1", 200, helped to kind of get him out of bounds there. But Allen Jordan, who's a quick and flashy basketball player, flashed some of that speed right there.
He's very athletic, and he could be a problem if he's not contained.
You know, I'm so used to doing radio, and now I've got to look over, and there's a monitor here. And now I'm going to be spoiled next year when I go back and do your games and I don't have a monitor. It makes it a whole lot easier, doesn't it?
It certainly does.
Now we've got to do is get replay in high school football. But I think we'd be a long way from doing that. Officials are trying to figure out something out on the field, so there's a momentary delay. And now they tell the clock operator to start moving the clock with 11:22 to go here in the first quarter. Or not to get the clock moving, but I guess that to start the play clock, if you will. Since the last play was run out of bounds by Allen Jordan, who sets up in the shotgun formation. A couple of receivers out to the right.
That's a quarterback.
And Allen Jordan keeps it himself and gets inside the 30
No, we're fine. That was
for a
fine.
gain of a couple, so it'll be a 2nd and 8. He's a big kid, isn't he?
He's certainly a big kid. He's athletic, and you can see he can throw the ball as well. So he's going to be a multi-talented athlete back there that Middlesex certainly has to be concerned with.
You ever watch him on the basketball court? Oh, my goodness.
I can only imagine.
That kid is tough. Got to see Plainfield a couple of times last season. Saw them almost get knocked off by Gill St. Bernard's in that tournament up at Roselle Catholic, the primetime shootout. Now the handoff, And that's not much for Robbie Fay out of New Providence, 5'9", 170. In fact, he lost a couple of yards on that play. And so it's going to be a 3rd down and long. So Middlesex here making the first real defensive stand of the game.
Yeah, they tried to spread out Middlesex. Union is spreading them out with 5 wides, and they're going empty backfield, and they ran a couple jet sweep. They're running jet sweep right and left and trying to set up their inside game off of that. But Middlesex defensive linemen were able to get off blocks and make plays at the line of scrimmage.
We've had a mishandled kick return by Union, led to a Middlesex score a couple of plays later. Then a Union interception and a Middlesex fumble. And here's Allen Jordan throwing down the right corner, and it's in the end zone. Did somebody catch it? He did.
Like an interception.
Oh, my goodness. Caught in the end zone by Brian Brown out of Colonia. And so Middlesex comes up big on defense. Couple of stops, set him up for a 3rd and long, and forced them to throw, George.
Yeah, that's the second turnover. That's the second interception. The secondary is playing very well for Middlesex. They're not giving them anything deep, and they're going to make Union drive the ball and grind it out.
It'll be a 1st down now for the Middlesex All-Stars from their own 20-yard line on that interception in the end zone. 9:48 to go first quarter. Middlesex leads at 7-0. They've won 5 of the last 6, 10 of 18 overall, but they lost last year to Union. And now it's Anderson throwing right side incomplete. That was Anderson looking for Sean Hall, tight end out of Piscataway on the play, 6'1", 205.
I think he made contact. The defensive back made contact immediately upon touch. When the receiver touched the ball, and he jarred it loose. He never got possession, and it became an incomplete pass.
It's a fine line between a pass interference and playing really good defense, isn't it?
Absolutely. And as long as the defensive player is going for the football and making a valid attempt at the ball, then it's not interference.
2nd and 10 from their own 20 for the Middlesex All-Stars with a 7-0 lead. Bit of a high snap, but Anderson controls it. And the pass is complete to Zalazar, his Woodbridge teammate. He's got a gain of about 15 on the play.
You can see that these two players have played together. The timing on that play was impeccable, and Salazar is a great athlete in the open field. He could be very dangerous.
There's going to be some chemistry, although, you know, it's tough not to. You don't want to have favorites too much in a game like this because everybody wants to get in touch with the ball, but it's got to be tempting when you've got someone there who you're familiar with.
Absolutely, and you can see that Middlesex went to a spread offense in the 2nd series after lining up in a double tight end bone in the 1st series. So they're trying to change it up.
Pass this time comes out to the 35, and it's caught and run up to midfield and passed down to the 40. Anthony Jones out of Perth Amboy. 9 touchdowns, 708 receiving yards this season for the Panthers, who put together back-to-back winning seasons for the first time since the late 60s this year.
Coach Giordano has done a very nice job in turning that program around, and they keep moving up in the rankings in the white division. They certainly they have the athletes there to play, and he's done a nice job of keeping them together.
See if they can make some more noise next year. 1st down for Middlesex, down at the 42 of the Union squad. 8:47 to go in this first quarter. And it's a run around the right side. Salazar gets down to the 35. There's a flag on the play, though, back at the 40, and this is going to come back on a hold.
They ran a jet sweep, just similar to what Union County was doing, and they tried to run it to Salazar to the short side, but unfortunately there was a hold on the play. So it'll be back to 1st and 20.
First penalty of the game on either side.
That's just a good block.
So now Middlesex got the ball at the 30 after that mishandled return attempt on the opening kickoff by Union. They were able to move the ball and score. They fumbled on their next possession on a bit of a tough snap. So let's see what they can do here, and now faced with a 10-yard penalty that sets them up with a 1st and 16.
Staying in the spread offense.
Still in Union territory. Handoff, nothing doing.
They tried to draw play off the shotgun, but Union was ready for it.
Matthew Wyman out of St. Joseph, which played its first varsity season last year, and this year will be their first in the GMC.
They're going to be a white division team, and everyone's anxious to get them involved in our programs here in Middlesex County.
Second and we'll call it 15. Again, a bit of a high snap. Anderson throws in the middle of the field, complete. Anthony Jones out of Perth Amboy making the catch just beyond the first down marker, moved the chains, put it at the Union 31. And I'll tell you what, George, there's not a lot of people in this area who have any familiarity with St. Joseph who don't think that they will put together a successful football program.
It won't take long before they get it rolling.
I mean, they've got a lot of support among the alumni, and a dropped ball at the 30-yard line by Rashad Adams. Throw is a bit low. I mean, you look at the support they get from the alumni and a lot of well-known alumni as well. There are going to be a lot of backers there. They'll have a great place to play, you know that. And they already get so much attention for their basketball and a lot of the other sports that they have. So
it's great for Middlesex County, and it's great for St. Joe's.
It's a place kids will want to go. Second down and 10. The 31 on an incomplete pass. And another fumble, but this time Middlesex is able to recover it and fall on the football. Kyle Anderson got it back at the 40.
They try to come back with that draw play again, but again, Union was there, and they had trouble blocking in the front. Union made the play.
Now, Union will know it's coming, but you can guess that Anderson is going to try and air it out here.
And they might try a screen play, too, to keep him when they know the pressure is going to be coming. So they might try a screen, play it a little safe without throwing the ball off for grabs, but you never know. They spread him out with 5 wide here.
They've got some speed. 3 on the left and 2 on the right, approaching the 7-minute mark of the first quarter.
Screen and go.
Throws right side, too far for the intended receiver, Sean Hall, out of Piscataway, down the right side.
That was a hitch and go. He faked the hitch, and then he threw it up, but he overthrew him. It was well defended by Union.
Not a lot of height in the receiving core for the Middlesex side. Hayden Warren's the tallest at 6'4". Sean Hall isn't small by any means. He's 6'1". If it's Warren, he might be able to get to that. But it was not. Now 4th down. They'll line up to punt, but if anything, the Snapple Bowl is known for charity and trick plays. But here's a punt. And it's going to be fielded at the 20-yard line, and I think he called for a fair catch, did he not? Or did they not give him enough room?
Well, they threw the penalty flag, so it looks like they
threw it right away.
Give an opportunity to catch it. I did not see the hand go up.
All right, come on. Let's just play D.
See, that to me looked like the defender was just kind of right there waiting, but maybe didn't give him enough space in front. It was a little too close.
It's a very difficult call for the officials because you have to give enough space, but then again, you have to be able to make a play on him if he does catch the ball.
And so it'll be 1st and 10 at the 35 in their own end for Union. Middlesex defense looked good on that first possession. See what they're able to do here. Cornegay's back in at quarterback, and it's a handoff up the middle. Couple of yards on the play. And the Union ball carrier was Andrew Romeo out of Governor Livingston. So it'll be a 2nd down and 6 coming up. 7-0 to score, Middlesex on top. They got the ball at the Union 30 after Union mishandled a kick return. Touched the ball, couldn't control it. Middlesex fell on it. Might have been an offside there. Now the flags come against Middlesex.
It looked like the Middlesex defensive end jumped prematurely, so it looks like it's going to be a 5-yard penalty, and it's going to be 2nd and short.
I think the officials couldn't get the flag out of their pocket quickly enough because the play went a couple extra seconds before the yellow laundry came out. So that's going to be close to a 1st down. Set up a 2nd and very short situation here for the Union offense.
This is an opportunity for Union to take a deep shot here, 2nd and short. Especially with the spread offense, they want to go one-on-one out on the corners.
Both these quarterbacks can air it as well. It's a handoff, and looks like they got it. Just right up the gut. And that was Andrew Romeo again, and a Governor Livingston with that carry. So first down just on the other side of the 45-yard line, and Union gets to move the chains. Second first down of the ball game for the Union offense. 5:55 to play in this first quarter. These games are always close, just about. Often will come down to the final couple of plays. Fake handoff. Now here's Cornegay airing it out right side. Almost picked off. Deflected down at the 18-yard line by Darryl Harper, the cornerback of the South Brunswick. He got a hand on it, but it was a little bit over him.
Darryl Harper has done a phenomenal job of covering their wideouts. They haven't gotten behind him, and he's up on every ball. He's as close to the ball as their offensive player is.
You've seen him as well. You've seen South Brunswick. Played them twice last year. Lost in the regular season and then beat them in the playoffs.
Yeah, two very, very tough football games. Very well coached team by Coach Mance, and they were two exciting games.
It's not an easy game in your red division. Here's Cornegay. Escapes one tackler, escapes a second, and runs out of bounds at the 50-yard line far side. Boy, he had some strength in those legs, didn't he?
Let me tell you, both of those quarterbacks for Union are both very, very athletic kids, and you can see that they're going to pressure the corners in the flank by their running ability as well as their passing ability.
I thought he might get away from that first man, but the second one, I wasn't so sure about, but he did.
It's like a running back with the football in his hands.
Keep the feet moving, right? At all times. Third down and 5. Right on the midfield stripe. Just over the Bear logo here at J. Doyle Field in East Brunswick. Cornegay takes the handoff, keeps it now, tries a spin move and is stopped right at the line of scrimmage. No gain.
Right now, it looks like the Middlesex defensive line is having their way with the Union offensive line. That's why they're not able to run between the tackles. And their best offense right now seems to be getting out on the flank with the jet sweep.
Middlesex playing a 3-4 with Jawan Proctor in the middle at 6'2", 290. He's the biggest. Jamel Daniels on one end, 6'4", 215, and Joe Petrofessa from South Brunswick, 6'1", 195. 4th and 5, and Union sets up to punt. The clock reaches 4:10 to go in the first quarter. Again, 15-minute quarters here in the Snapple Bowl, as they've always played. Good high kick. It's going to bounce kind of dead on the turf. And roll inside the 20. Picked up there by Middlesex own. Trick plays. Not so much a trick play, but just maybe a little deception there by Middlesex. Didn't work. Cody Zalazar didn't get far, but Cody
Zalazar likes to get the ball in his hands, so every opportunity he gets, he tries to take advantage of it. And you can't blame him. He's got outstanding speed, and he's great in the open field.
Tell you what, you better make sure you pick up that ball if you do that.
Absolutely right.
I mean, he had a guy right on him, and once he did pick it up, they said, "Where do you think you're going?"
Things like that drive coaches crazy.
But I tell you what, if it works, he's got at least 10, 15 yards. 1st and 10. They're inside the 20. Middlesex, far side, and run out of bounds over on that far sideline was Azim Blakey. South Brunswick.
Looks like a late hit took place out of bounds on that play. They might get extra yardage here. And I also noticed that Middlesex wwent back to the double tight end bone offense that they had success with the first series.
Vikings were the GMC Red champs at 10-1, 8-0 in the division. Lost in the second round of the playoffs to Sayreville. It was the second round, right? And Carteret winners of the white. Dunellen winners of the blue.
When you get a chance, tell Dean on 3 Sky he doesn't like the wheels.
Be a 1st and 10 for Middlesex from the 42. 7-0 score. The Middlesex All-Stars on top.
They went unbalanced again here to the left.
And a little mishandle there on the snap. And a pile falling on it, but it looks like Middlesex has it. The only thing these teams are missing are nicknames. We need something else to call them. Once in a while, just for a change of pace. Looked like Hayden Warren falling on that, who plays his home games right on this field here for East Brunswick. 6'4", 215. So many storylines in this game. Warren's dad was sick this year, and was a chance his dad might not even be able to make the games, but he was expected to be here tonight. Three minutes now to go in this first quarter. 7-0, Middlesex on top. Out to the right side to the 42-yard line. Maybe a gain on the play for Woodbridge's Isaiah Johnson.
They went to the wishbone and they tried to toss out of the wishbone, but Union was up to the task.
And so it'll be a 3rd and long situation. And now, George, the offenses have kind of stagnated a little bit, and Middlesex defenses look very good. There have been a couple of miscues on each side, so you know how big that score looks for Middlesex right now that they were able to pounce, getting the ball at the 30-yard line to start this game.
It's always nice when you can score first and put the pressure on the other team.
And then you can kind of have your feeling out stage. Incomplete pass, Cody Zalazar right there. Good defense on that play by Union as well. Good pass defense.
Union seems to have settled down a little bit now, and they seem to be playing even with Middlesex on both sides of the football.
Mike Pavlichko, George Najar here with you from J. Doyle Field in East Brunswick. Snapple Bowl 19. Proceeds, of course, to benefit, as they always have, the Children's Specialized Hospital and Lakeview School, and a couple of really good causes. The players go out and meet the kids, and both are so excited to have that opportunity. Here's the kick. It's going to go out of bounds. And Union's going to get some pretty decent field position out of this. Looks like the 45 is where they will spot it.
Again, special teams could become a factor. You don't get much time to practice it. These kids haven't played football in months. And when they get out here in game situations like this, you never know what happens in a special teams game.
So the 45-yard line, Union will start it out. 1st and 10. And
Union has very good field position here. Their own 45-yard line, left hash mark. They're spreading them out. They're staying in the spread offense. Empty backfield.
Quarterback will be the tall, lanky, and quick Dijon Allen Jordan. Flag on the play. Pitch fumbled, fallen back on by Middlesex. But let's see what the flag is going to be.
It looked like a motion penalty against Union. I think they had 2 men in motion simultaneously, and that's illegal. Looks like Middlesex is going to decline that and take possession.
I would think so. So another miscue, and we'll see if one or the other team can capitalize here. There have been a few since that first one on the opening kickoff, but nobody's been able to capitalize yet. We've had a Middlesex interception. That was back in the end zone, and there's the penalty decline. And Middlesex ball.
Great field position for Middlesex. They have the ball on the Union 37-yard line, 1st and 10.
So we've had fumbles back and forth. We've had an interception, a mishandled kickoff. That's the only one on which the other team has been able to capitalize and score. Well, let's see what Middlesex does here with a shorter field than they've had most of the night. 1st and 10 from the 37-yard line of Union. And Saucedo, the quarterback, pass incomplete. Now check that. Kyle Anderson still in there, but incomplete at the 25-yard line. Boy, threw a bullet right down the middle for Rashad Adams, another receiver from Perth Amboy, 6'2", 185.
Hit him right in the chest. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to hold on.
Minute 54 now to go here in this first quarter of play. 2nd and 10 coming up.
Pass protection is very important in games like this because you don't have a lot of time to practice it, and a lot of times the defense just puts back their ears and goes after you. But fortunately for Middlesex, they had a little time to get that ball off, and they had a wide open receiver.
Light starting to take effect here at J. Doyle Field, and a really nice night temperature-wise. Pass is complete, the 35-yard line. Anthony Jones, 74 or 5 or so at game time and cloudy right now, down to 73. It's a bit on the humid side, but boy, a big change from yesterday when we hit 101. Records all across the state, although by this time last night it was a lot cooler. It had rained and we had a lot of lightning, but tonight much more comfortable, and good thing, because when it's the dead of summer and you're playing this game, that cannot be easy.
Absolutely, you're right. These are ideal conditions right now. Nice breeze, overcast.
Not bad. 3rd down and 7. Anderson throws incomplete, just beyond the outstretched arm of Anthony Jones, who then crumples to the turf. And he got hit kind of awkwardly as he went up for that ball. He was moving one direction, hit came from another.
It was well played by the safety on the Union team. Looks like he might have got the wind knocked out of him, and I hope that's all it is.
Yeah, because he was up higher in the air, and his hands were free to make that catch, and he couldn't come down with it. But it didn't look like any part of his arms got hit or jolted one way or the other. And if Marcus Borden, the organizer of this game from the very beginning, if he, the East Brunswick head coach, if he walks away from it pretty quickly, I think he figures that it's probably not that serious, and he gets back to work with the offense on his team. He's the offensive coordinator. Jason Parry of Colonia handles the defensive side of things, and Ben LaSala, the honorary head coach for the Middlesex side. On the Union side, how many members of the Cranford staff are on here? 8 of them. Eric Rosenmeyer handles the offense. Jim DeSarno at Westfield handles the defense. And Scott Miller at Brearley, the honorary head coach. It'll be a 4th down and 7.
This is an interesting decision for Middlesex. They have 4th and 7 from the 34-yard line. They're out of field goal range. They really don't want to punt here, so they're going to give it a shot and go for it on 4th down. Jones
is walking around on the sideline now and just kind of walking back and forth, taking a drink. I think he's collected himself. Here's the 4th down play as Middlesex goes for it. Incomplete. He was looking for Hayden Warren, the big tight end from East Brunswick, and he missed him right at the 30. And so it is going to be the Union ball as they'll take over on down. So the Middlesex offense not really able to get much going there, taking over in pretty good field position. So we've seen neither side really able to capitalize since that first touchdown.
The defenses have taken over this game at this point. Both defensive lines have dominated, and the secondaries are playing very, very well.
54.6 seconds to go in the first quarter. Snapple Bowl 19, Middlesex 7, Union nothing. Union won last year, but Middlesex won 5 times prior. A little bit of a low snap for Cornegay, and whistles and flags come down. Somebody moved, and it was on the defense. So they'll spot Union 5 yards on the penalty.
They'll have a 1st and 5 from the 39-yard line. Good field position for Union.
And gives them some more options in what you can try on 1st down. You always like to get that positive yardage on 1st down, but it gives you a little more freedom to maybe try a little something different.
They're consolidated.
The snap to Cornegay, rolling out left, overthrows his man, Robert Jackson, 5'9", 195-pound slot back out of Plainfield. And it'll be a 2nd down and 5.
Cornegay, being a right-handed quarterback, had some difficulty rolling to his left and making that throw. He overthrew a wide-open receiver, and it fell incomplete.
You maybe run something a little more conservative if it's 1st and 10. 1st and 5, you can take that shot because if you don't get it, you know it's still going to be only a 2nd and mid-range for you.
And Middlesex continues to pressure up front.
3-4, but they bring a lot of guys right up there. Here's the snap. Oh, and that time right up the middle to the 50-yard line. Cornegay picks up a 1st down and a gain of 10.
That time they faked the jet sweep, and the quarterback kept the ball up inside there, and he picked up about 10 yards, and it looks like they're going to start going to that jet sweep quarterback option.
And got Robbie Fay out of New Providence. That man in motion comes right in front of Hakeem Cornegay, the 5'8", 165-pound quarterback out of Rahway. There's Fay again, and there's a throw down the middle of the field, complete at the 30-yard line and yards after the catch for Robert Jackson out of Plainfield. Down inside the 25, it's a more than 25-yard gain.
That time they faked the jet sweep, and they got one-on-one coverage with that receiver, one-on-one with the strong safety, and he beat him over the top. Well thrown ball.
Not what Union wants is for the clock to run out in the 1st quarter and have to pause and maybe lose their momentum. They'd love to keep playing the quarter, but they can't as we've reached zeros. The end of 1 quarter here at Snapple Bowl 19 at East Brunswick High School. Middlesex leads at 7-0, but Union moving in Snapple Bowl 19. Start of the 2nd quarter at J. Doyle Field. A 1st down inside the 25 for Union. And a pitch goes out to Devon Gallard out of Hillside. Gets his first touch of the game. 5'10", 180 pounds. And he gets maybe a yard. It'll be a 2nd and 9.
That time they went with a speed option play where Cornegay got the ball, ran down as if he was going to run it. And as they approached him, he pitched the ball back. And Middlesex seemed to be in good position in pursuit.
It's not a long break, certainly not as much as it is in the NFL or college with media timeouts. You don't have those in high schools, but how much does the end of a quarter, if you're moving and close to or in the red zone, hurt your momentum?
I'm not sure if it hurts as much. It's good to get the kids settled down. It gives you a chance to plan and prepare, and it gets the kids in the right focus. So it's really not a terrible thing. If things don't work out, then people might say, well, you know, the change of the quarter, the other team made the adjustment. Personally, I like it because it gives you a chance to talk to your team and let them know exactly what your plans are for the next series.
I was going to say it's almost like a free timeout, and as I was thinking that and you were speaking, Union called the timeout to talk about it.
I think it's a very good timeout by Coach Rosenmeyer, because I think Union was a little disgruntled there and with not having success in that last play. And I think now he's trying to settle his team down because he realizes it's important for him to get in the end zone.
Is it a little frustrating when you have that break between the quarters and then you come out of it and you don't get the play run that you want and then you're forced to call a timeout? So we just had a minute to talk about this, didn't we?
That's a very good point, and it is very frustrating because you hope that the timeout you had for the quarter alleviates any confusion. But obviously there seems to be some confusion there, which is understandable in an all-star game. Yeah,
again, it's very difficult to get these types of games going, and teams to get into a groove. And that's a lot of times why you see maybe not the turnovers so much, but miscues and overthrown passes and bad snaps in an all-star game like this early on. But as the game goes on, the play picks up and improves. And we've seen a lot of great finishes here in the Snapple Bowl. Here's Cornegay to throw. End zone. Got a man at the 1. And to get in, yes, touchdown, Union.
They came back to the same play that they scored. They had a big play on earlier, that big 20-yard gain that they had earlier in that drive. They came back to the same play where they faked that jet motion, and he gets one-on-one with the strong safety. He throws it right over the top.
Robert Jackson out of Plainfield with the catch, and I don't believe he caught it in the end zone. I believe he caught it at the 1 and kind of spun a little bit and got in. James O'Rourke out of Westfield will hold for Robbie Fay from New Providence. With 14:03 to go in this first half of Snapple Bowl 19. Kick is up, through and good. So it's 7-7 here in Snapple Bowl 19, and you've seen all of these games. George, did you expect much different?
No, I didn't actually, and it's interesting that Union was able to respond with a couple of big pass plays. So I guess faking that jet sweep and throwing the ball over the top seems to be something that they saw from upstairs, and they found openings and they took advantage of it.
So we're tied at 7-7. It was Middlesex getting on the board first. The touchdown by Azim Blakey from just a yard out after a miscue on the opening kick by Union. But they've tied it up now almost 15 minutes later. A 22-yard touchdown catch by Robert Jackson.
I'm interested to see what Middlesex does in this series. They've come out in the bone to start the game. They went to the spread offense in the second series, then went back to the bone, went back to the spread. They've had a little success with both. I'm curious to see how they respond in this series.
Well, then the only thing you get in quarters is
We haven't seen a kickoff since that first touchdown a long time ago for a whole quarter. And this will be the first one from Union. It's deep, back at the 2-yard line, right up the middle of the field to the 30, 35, tripped up, diving forward, losing the football, but the knee hit the ground before that.
That's
by Cody Salazar.
That's what Salazar does. He can break open a game, and he's done it many, many times, especially this year where he's broken touchdowns, punt returns, fake punts. He's a multi-talented individual.
And he's a player who takes some chances. You saw him almost pick up a few yards on that punt return where he picked up that ball on the ground that looked like it was dead. And then here you see him just try to bring the extra effort to get a couple extra yards. And if his knee doesn't touch the ground first, that's a fumble. But he made sure that that happened. And then the ball popped out. So he might have gotten an extra 3 or 4 yards on that dive. 1st and 10 Middlesex from their own 40.
This is an interesting look for them. They went to a pro-style I formation right now.
And a handoff from Saucedo out of Perth Amboy will go right up the middle. These two quarterbacks for Middlesex from Woodbridge and Perth Amboy, Anderson and Saucedo, have combined this past season for 3,986 yards. That's a lot of passing.
That's a lot of yards.
They're blocking.
Interesting that Middlesex has gone to this pro-style offense. They went to a flanker split end I formation and are just running the ball straight ahead at Union.
Gain of a couple, 2nd and 6. Fonzie, as they call him, takes a snap, but a flag on the play and a false start called on Middlesex will move them back and set them up for about a 2nd and 11. Almost 2 minutes gone by here in this second quarter.
Again, new quarterback comes in. Maybe he didn't take any snaps from this particular center. He's under center where he was in the shotgun earlier. That could cause some problems.
What I'm saying is
15-minute quarters here in the Snapple Bowl, so 13 minutes even to go in the second before we get to halftime. 2nd and 11. Saucedo takes the snap, rolls back, plenty of time, throws it over the middle, caught behind the line of scrimmage, and now brought up to the 40. Making the catch was Sean Hall.
That was a screenplay design that Union was well prepared for.
Donnell Hubbard of Elizabeth was in on that tackle along with Stefano Stadlinger of Summit, 5'11", 210. Hubbard at middle linebacker and defensive line, combining for 106 tackles and 11 for loss. 5 sacks this year for the Minutemen. 3rd and 10.
Back to the spread offense again.
Saucedo shotgun, throws left. Hall complete at the 45-yard line in Union territory. And Anthony De Silva out of Cranford, 5'11", 205, there to wrap him up. Cranford with 8 coaches on the Union staff, and out of 3 schools to make state sectional finals, the only one to close it out with a win.
That was an exceptional catch by Sean Hall. The ball was up in the air. He knew he was going to get hit, yet he still was able to hold on to the ball and get the first down.
Cranford beat Parsippany Hills 27-0 for its first ever state title, North 2 Group 3 championship. Handoff goes to Blakey. Blakey, right side, first down and more. Far sideline, 20, 10, 5, touchdown.
The draw play that they didn't have success with early in the game just broke them for a touchdown. I guess they were expecting the pass, and they blocked it well up front, and Blakey has deceptive speed to the sideline.
I didn't know if he was going to have the room on the sideline to run that one in for the score. I didn't know if he was going to be able to get down the sideline, if a defender might not have come in and cut the corner on him, but he was able to get it in the end zone for the score.
Very impressed with Blakey's speed considering his size. At 6 foot, 215 pounds, he has exceptional speed.
The kick for the extra point, good. 14-7, Middlesex leads Union with 11:31 to go here in this first half. So we see the first touchdown by Middlesex. Nobody scored for a while. I think the teams were kind of feeling each other out. Now we've seen scores on successive possessions.
That was a very good answer by Middlesex that responded to Union's score, and I'm curious to see what Union decides to do in this series.
Teams will get back out on the field here at J. Doyle Field.
This is what the fans like to see.
Yeah. The offense is putting some points up on the board. Last year at Keene, it was Middlesex falling 28-6. But they won the 5 before that. 28-14, 24-6, 14-7. And 17-10, and then the first one in that stretch, 13-7. So been some low-scoring games. I have a feeling we're going to see some more in this one. The kick will roll out of bounds with a flag at about the 10-yard line. So Union will start a little closer than that.
One of the disadvantages of trying to go for that pooch kick in the corner is that sometimes it will go out of bounds, and now you're going to give the ball possession of the ball to the 40-yard line.
11:27 to go. Let's see where they spot this one. Just past the 30. Not bad field position.
Belly motion back. That's it.
And for the Union All-Stars, they bring back out at quarterback. Looks like they're going to have Alan Jordan out there. Or no, is it Cornegay out there? Trying to get a look in the huddle. Yeah, it's going to be Cornegay. Back out from Rawway, 5'8", 165 for the Indians. All seniors in this game to benefit Lakeview School and Children's Specialized Hospital in Mountainside. Handoff.
That time the outside backer.
Not much. Actually, that was Alan Jordan. Was he?
I think it is Jordan, Mike.
It was a Jordan. Okay. Yeah. You would think it'd be able to tell at 6'5".
One of the things that gets lost sometimes in these All-Star games is the cheerleaders, and the cheerleaders are this year 2 cheerleaders from each team in Middlesex County. So you have a large number of cheerleaders. These girls work hard during the off season. They work hard in the summer, and for them to come out here and cheer and inspire the crowd is a nice thing to see as well.
They doubled the sizes of the squads this year, and they're all wearing orange and black ribbons. We'll tell you more about that in just a moment. It'll be a second down and 9. There's a gain of a yard on the last play on a keeper, and now Alan Jordan throws incomplete at the 40-yard line. It was James O'Rourke out of Westfield that Alan Jordan was looking for on that play. 14-7 the score. See, now I keep looking over that scoreboard and want to say Bears on top because the home team is where it says Bears for East Brunswick, which is where we are. But it's 14-7 Middlesex.
Big play coming up here for Union. It's 3rd and 9. They're on their own 36-yard line, and they're in a definite passing situation.
So here they come out of the huddle. two receivers to the left,
It's quads. We should come hard off that edge.
two over to the right. Alan Jordan, some pressure, runs up, spins around, is taken down at the 35-yard line. So he didn't get a chance. More good pressure, George, from the Middlesex defensive line.
We got a little fracas out there. I think
yeah.
Tempers are getting a little hot, but that's part of football.
Got a flag or two thrown there as well. The orange and black ribbons that the cheerleaders are wearing, you'll see them on the Union and the Middlesex sides. They had a moment of silence before the game for Linden High School grad Amber Duncan Wilson, who was a tragic story, shot and killed in the robbery on July 9th. Both squads with a moment of silence before the game, and their halftime performances will be dedicated to her as well. And one of the coaches on the Union cheerleading side, Nikki Savino of Cranford, she is a Linden graduate as well. So very tough times for Linden and that Union County community, trying to come together and do something in her honor and memory. And they'll be doing all that at halftime. Fourth down. I believe the penalties will wipe each other out here, because there were some flags thrown on that play. 4th and 6 inside the 40-yard line. And lining up to punt was Fay, and it goes over his head. He's going to track it down. He still can't get a handle on it. Now he finally kicks it high up in the air on pressure from Middlesex. I think he heard footsteps, and it's down at the 19-yard line. George, I don't think he was looking at the football. He was trying to pick it up and run or do something with it. And he kept looking up, and he kept missing the football.
Yeah, it cost him about an extra 15 yards. And in situations like that, he was so worried about getting the ball and then worried about where the pressure was coming from that he lost track of where the ball was. And when he got the ball, he hurried the kick and he shanked it. Middlesex is in an ideal position right now. 19-yard line, 1st and 10, plenty of time in the quarter, and they have all the momentum going for them.
Pick it up, then you can run, right? 14-7 Middlesex, and now they've got a chance. Obviously very early in this game and a lot of football to be played, but they've got a chance here to really establish some dominance over this Union squad.
Absolutely, and there's another example where the special teams have become a big factor in games like this. A lot of miscues in special teams could be costly. So far we've seen two already by Union.
Short and a long touchdown by Middlesex in this ball game, and now they've got a very short field.
Tell Switzer, great job.
Situation to work with. The chain gang was a little confused on the far side. They had they had it as if it were Union's ball, and I'm looking saying, no, that's not going to be the case.
They're back to the pro offense now. I formation, flank to the right.
Saucedo in at quarterback, throws right side, airs it up, caught. Did he get inbounds? Yes. Touchdown. And Cody Zalazar. So forget the Woodbridge connection. Anderson to Zalazar. Saucedo likes him too.
Hard kid not to like. He's always around the football, and he knows how to get open.
My goodness. 20-yard TD pass. Saucedo to Zalazar.
That was just Cody Zalazar beating the corner one-on-one and a well-thrown ball by Saucedo.
If you're the Union coaches, what are you telling the side right now, offense or defense?
Well, the Union coaches got to settle down. I think they had a nice little plan going earlier, play action passing. Then this time they just try to run the ball, and they didn't have any success. Forced them into a passing situation. And the next thing you know, they had a punt. They had a bad snap, and now they're down 2 touchdowns.
And missed the extra point, so it'll stay 20-7. Middlesex on top. It's funny, since Union scored, Middlesex has really come alive offensively. Union defense was playing well, but the Middlesex offense wasn't all that great. I think they were happy with what they were doing defensively, and I think they were content at 7-0 right there. Said, look, we feel like we're playing pretty good football, and let's just go with it. But I think once Union scored, it kind of woke something up on that Middlesex offense. So now they lead by just shy of a couple of scores here at 20-7.
I think the big spark was that Blakely run. again. I think the run that sparked them, that got them in the end zone, and I think that revitalized them.
9:55 to go in the first half of play. 20-7 Middlesex, and they'll get set to kick off once again. Salazar's a busy guy. He was for Woodbridge, and he is here in the Snapple Bowl doing the kicks. Playing wide receiver. He boots it. Short kick. And Union unable to fall on it. Middlesex trying to get to it, and they say they've got it. Recovering on the play for the Middlesex All-Stars, Craig Switzer. And that time we got a closer look. The first time was on the far side of the field, and you said, you know what, Mike, I think they meant to do that. And here are the Middlesex coaches in the booth saying, we got it again, we got him again. They had it.
Yes, they did. They pooched it. That was certainly an intentional kick there in that area, in that dead area there, and they covered the ball very, very well. The ball bounced around a little. Union never responded, and Middlesex has the ball again in great field position.
And that's your boy who recovered it, too. One of your kids from Sayreville.
Yes, it was Craig Switzer. He's had an outstanding career here, and he's had an outstanding season this past year, so I'm so happy he's being recognized by being able to play in this game.
Well, they're trying to sort out, I think, where this ball is going to be spotted and what's happening, because they've got flags on the field as well. Looks like it was as Middlesex was coming up the field. Can't imagine they'll not have the football. It's just a matter of where. Marcus Borden, the offensive coordinator, is all the way over to the far side of the field to discuss this with one of the Union coaches, and it looks like he's having more of a discussion with the Union side than anything. And boy, I wish I knew what it was about.
Well, my only guess here, Mike, would be that they're probably telling both teams to calm down a little bit because they're getting a little hectic out there, and there's a couple little altercations that I think that they don't want to really reflect on this game.
Marcus's body language is a little animated, but first he was talking to the coach on the other side, and now he's talking to the officials.
I think they pulled the Union team together to talk to them about good sportsmanship, and I would assume that Middlesex is going to do the same.
Marcus is still a little hot, and I think Union right now is trying to keep to themselves. One of their coaches over talking to another official on the far side here with 9:48 to go in the first half of a 20-7 ball game. And, you know, things can get a little hot when it's been a close game for a quarter, and then one team pulls even, and then the other one just goes off for a couple of more touchdowns, answers, and then some.
Yeah, well, that's football again. It's an emotional game to begin with. Then you're getting kids who haven't played football in a while, and they're getting that feeling back. And when you go head-to-head, it's the emotion of the game.
Mark is still calling one of the other coaches over to talk about it. I think he's unhappy that something wasn't called. I mean, I guess there's a time when you give both teams a warning, and there's a time when you've got to do something to call a penalty of some kind. Now, there were flags on the play. I don't know that they resulted in anything. Maybe they pulled them back.
I'm not sure about the flags. I will say, though, I saw the referee reach into his pocket and write down some information on his card. When he does that, it usually indicates that there were some players who were warned or maybe even ejected for behavior in the game, and I'm hoping that's not the case.
But Marcus keeps walking out there and waving over to the Union coaches. Come here, I want to talk to you.
Here's the penalty right now, unsportsmanlike.
Okay.
Against Middlesex and against Union. Now the Middlesex team is coming together just like the Union team did. And I think they're going to get instructions from the coach to tell them to calm down, play football. You're here as an all-star. You're representing your school and your community. Do the right thing on the football field.
And this all for a couple of great causes. A couple of years ago raised a record $40,000 in the 1 year for the Snapple Bowl to benefit the Children's Specialized Hospital in Mountainside and the Lakeview School as well. So this all for a good cause. And we were talking about the players who get to make the visits to the kids and brighten their days a little bit to get to meet some football players. And a lot of the players say, hey, you know what? I don't realize how How lucky we've had it. They've raised over $370,000 since they started this game 19 years ago. Last year they were pretty close to the record raised in the 2010 game.
Heard the biggest selling shirt on eBay.
So here we go. We'll get this thing started in just a moment. Middlesex is going to have the ball. If anybody remembers where we were when we left off here and had a lot of discussions between these two sides. It'll be a 1st and 10 from down at the Union 22-yard line. Another kickoff that was angled towards the sideline, and Middlesex was able to recover the first one on the opening kick, and the second one coming just moments ago, and how Middlesex was able to get the ball back.
Again, once again, Middlesex has great field position, 22-yard line.
So here we go.
This guy's jumping around over here from Cranford.
1st and 10. Middlesex with the ball on offense. And it's Saucedo. Pitches off right side. Errol Lindo getting his first touch of the game from Metuchen inside the 20. Pickup of about 4.
Jay, that's big, man.
Almost 1,600 yards gained by Lindo this past season for the Bulldogs, and 19 touchdowns for the GMC Blue Division School.
He had an excellent season all around, and they had a great year at Metuchen, making the playoffs for the first time in a few years, and Sam Estretta's done a very nice job with that program and turning it around.
How much do you get to follow the other divisions and the other schools besides your own Red? I mean, there's not an easy week in the Red Division.
We don't so much follow the other teams. You just keep an eye on the whole conference and the whole Middlesex County situation, and you can't help but follow it. And it's good to see teams who have struggled turn around and have successes.
There were a lot of good teams this year in Middlesex County, and a couple of them made championship weekend, and yours and Piscataway both winning state titles this year. So I think it was a good year overall for the GMC top to bottom. I
agree with you, Mike, and it's great when GMC football can be well represented in the playoffs, especially when we win a couple of state championships down the road and certainly represent the entire community in the county.
Now, is it in 2 years that they will go to this 5th group?
It's supposed to be happening this year.
This year. Boy, we'll just have more sections to follow with PowerPoints every week. My calculator is going to burn up for overuse. Toss to the end zone. Caught. Touchdown, Hayden Warren on his home field. And Middlesex now up 26-7.
Mike,
do they go for 2 to make it square?
They might just take the extra point. I'm not sure yet what they're going to do, but I will say this, that time they lined up in double tight end bone, which looks like an obvious running formation. They faked the run, and they got the tight end right behind that cornerback. Well called, well executed.
So let's see what Middlesex is going to come up with here. Do they go for the extra point, or do they go for the 2 to make it a square 28-7 traditional score after missing that last extra point?
It looks like they're going for 2. They put the ball on the left hash mark, and he's calling the play. They're spreading him out right now.
Saucedo's going to be the quarterback. Warren's in there.
They have 5 wides, 5 wide receivers.
4 to the right, 1 to the left. That's Adams near side of your screen. And we've got Union defense calling a timeout here.
I don't think they were ready to cover those four wides.
No, probably not.
Right.
Not in a short situation like that, going for a 2-point conversion, but nonetheless, 8:10 to go, almost midway through this second quarter of play. In Snapple Bowl 19, Mike Pavlichko, George Najar along with you. There you see Marcus Borden in the offensive huddle for the Middlesex All-Stars. Talking to some of those big linemen down there, too. Let them know which way they're going to go here.
That, and make sure you give the quarterback enough time to get rid of that football. Pretty impressive getting 4 touchdowns in the first half.
The other Middlesex coaches, Ben LaSalle out of Colonia, Bob Molars of St. Joe's, Jason Perry out of Colonia doing the defense, Ron Raymond out of Middlesex, and Brett Stibbets too, Brian Russo from Woodbridge, Andy Steinfeld from East Brunswick, Craig Lowry, Piscataway, Rick Mant, South Brunswick, who will not be coaching them next year. Billy Hamilton of the South Plainfield rounds out the staff. Saucedo, similar formation, high snap, flag on the play.
It looked like Union jumped off sides in his play, Mike, and that brings the ball to the 1.5 yard line. If that's the case, then you might see them go for 2 by just running the football in here.
They might do that. It's amazing how much difference on a play like that, you know, just a yard and a half will make.
Absolutely.
You know, the average person wouldn't think on an extra point that, gee, it's going to make that much difference. And so many times when you see that happen, you see then the 2-point conversion unit come out.
Yeah, they're going to the double tight end bone again. They're going to look to plow it in. They want unbalanced right also here.
See how they do. Saucedo fumbles the snap, and they won't get it. 26-7, the score will hold. 8:10 to go in this first half. So a little bit of miscue now. Some more players coming together. There's Hayden Warren and J.P. Cristiano out of Cranford, who were, let's say, very close to each other on in the moments following that failed 2-point conversion attempt. 26-7. Middlesex on top. And we've not seen a lot of blowouts in this series. I mean, I went back to the last 5 wins for Middlesex and last year, and usually no more than a touchdown or 2 in these games. So it'll be interesting to see if Union's able to come back here, and I don't want to say make it a football game because there's so much time to go, but to get back in it and keep it close heading into halftime.
I think they want to concentrate their efforts in trying to get the ball down the field and get in the end zone before this half runs out. They're hoping it can be this series, but it should be soon.
Here's the kick. Fielded at the 9 by Cornegay. Gets up to about the 20, and a good wrap up there.
Well covered by Middlesex.
No matter what,
yeah, good wrap up on that play. Christian Thomas out of Colonia. 6'1", 200, inside linebacker, in on that stop. 1st and 10, Union be at their own 20-yard line. 7:59 to go in the first half. 26-7. It is Middlesex on top. They have scored the last 3 touchdowns. Blakey, a long run, and a couple of touchdown passes by Faustino Saucedo.
They're going to get the wheel
out of Perth Amboy. And it'll be Cornegay in at quarterback. The handoff goes the opposite direction from him. Robert Jackson out of Plainfield, the slot back, takes it.
They went to a jet sweep again, and Middlesex was well prepared for it. They're spreading out the defense, and their speed is able to cover.
We've seen a lot of that jet sweep by the Union offense.
The problem I see, Mike, is that they don't have enough complementary plays off that jet sweep.
See, what they're doing now is,
and whatever plays they've run, they haven't had a lot of success with, so they haven't really caused much concern for the Middlesex defense.
Can't be your go-to play. There's got to be a lot of other mixed in with it, right?
Absolutely right.
2nd down and 12.
They got 6 guys in motion.
Here's the snap. Cornegay takes, keeps it himself. Flag in the backfield and up to the 25-yard line, and looks like it might even come back on a hold. And indeed, the penalty is going to be against Union. And that'll set them back a little further here to at least inside their own 15.
Yeah, that was a motion penalty. There 2 guys moving in motion simultaneously. I'm not sure if they're going to decline this or they're going to let it run, because they had a 2nd and 12 to begin with. They just might let that play go and make it 3rd and long for them.
Let's see what happens. And Middlesex declines.
They took the penalty, Mike.
Or they did, okay.
Yeah. Tell him just to look. If there's nobody in the backfield, tell him to look right at the quarterback.
And they moved it back to the 13-yard line.
Proctor, look at the quarterback. Yeah.
So it'll be a second, and what do we have? 17.
It's difficult, especially when you're pinned back in your own end. You don't want to do anything too risky. Yet you want to try to get that first down and continue to move the sticks, especially when you're down by 19 points.
And we're under 7 minutes to play in this first half. You'd like at least another score and some defensive hold by your team. Long pass, far sideline, and right there for Middlesex on defense was Jeff Puckett, one of 3 Dunellen Destroyers on this Middlesex All-Star team, most of any of the smaller schools. 5'11", 180.
No, stay with the quarters.
As a quarterback for Dunellen, not a corner, a quarterback, 142 carries and 1,035 yards. They politely call it the offense in a phone booth. Have you gotten to see them much in person?
I have not gotten to see them, but
goodness.
they have. Dave DiNapoli has done an outstanding job the last few years with that team, and everyone was looking at him kind of strangely when he put that offense in, but they're not laughing now.
If you have an off week, well, you don't because you don't play Thanksgiving, so you won't get a chance to see them. Another 3rd and long here for Union, and an incomplete pass at the 10-yard line. There's got to be a time when you're playing on a Saturday you can get out and see Dunellen sometime. I tell you what, it's the toughest. You wouldn't want to be up in this booth to call that game because you can't see. You can't see who's got the football. And I can imagine what it's like to be down on the field, because when you're up here, you've actually got a pretty good vantage point of seeing everything develop. And if you can't see it from here, there's no way you're going to see it down there. And those players are small typically from Dunellen too, so you add that in, you can't see them behind an offensive line, you're in real trouble.
It's a classic example of having a system in and working it and making it work for you and your program and your personnel.
Dave does a great job with that. So now Union to punt on a 4th and very long. It's a good punt, but it's still going to leave Middlesex, which calls for a fair catch inside Union territory. Zalazar calls for the fair catch at about the 46, 47-yard line, so that's where they're going to start out. That was a good kick, but they would have liked to have not been pinned back so far in their own end to have to boot it from there.
That's right. It was a good kick, and that's something you usually don't see. Cody Zalazar calling for a fair catch.
No, he took the safe play this time, didn't he?
This outside backer wasn't in his flat.
Mark that down as a moment in the game you may never see again.
Well, if Union wants to stay in this game, they need to stop Middlesex from getting better field position, because they're inside their territory, and if they start moving the ball, it could be dangerous.
1st and 10, 47-yard line of Union for the Middlesex All-Stars. Saucedo still in at quarterback. The handoff goes right side. And that's Isaiah Johnson out of Woodbridge, who gets to about the 40, maybe just inside. And it's a couple yards shy of a first down. If you're Middlesex, is it too early, up by 19 points with 6 minutes to go before the half and some change, is it too early to try and keep the ball on the ground here and eat up some clock?
Yes, it is too early, because they're moving the ball with success. They're having success throwing it. They're having success running it. There's a good opportunity for them to really open this thing up by getting the ball down there. Plus, they have great field position, so they don't have to be too cautious.
And there's another handoff and a little spin move by Kenny Verdon out of Bishop R to get inside the 40 and close to, but it looks like just shy of a first down.
They could be in 4-down territory here. They're very close. They probably are. They're on the 38-yard line. They got 2 downs here, I believe, to get that first down.
I think they are. I mean, in addition to the way they are moving the football and dominating, the offensive line is dominating. Their defense has been playing well too. So if you give Union the ball here just inside their 40, the way the Middlesex defense has been playing, they're not going to do much with it. 3rd and a couple, and Saucedo doesn't like what he sees and calls a timeout. So another timeout called by Middlesex. They've called 2. Union, I believe, has only called, they've called 2 as well, yeah. They called one quite a while ago, and then they called one on that two-point conversion attempt on the defensive side of things. So it'll be a 3rd and very short when they come out of the timeout.
You're going to see one of two things happen here. You're going to see them line up in that pro formation that they've run the last couple of series and just pound the ball in there twice. Or you might see them go back to that double tight end bone look that Coach Borden and the East Brunswick Bears employ, and again create some mismatches up front and get that first down and keep those sticks moving, as well as keep the clock moving, so they can have the best of both worlds.
3rd and short situation, 5:30 to go, first half, 26-7, Middlesex on top. Snapple Bowl 19 at J. Doyle Field in East Brunswick. Mike Pavlichko and George Najar along with you. The 3 backs and a handoff left side, and not much, but looks like he might have gotten the first down. He had just enough to Nazim Blakey out of South Brunswick. Looks like he got it, huh?
That's a big boy there.
Yeah.
It looks like they're going to have to call for a measurement. It was close enough.
They gave it to the bruiser. And if it's where I think it's spotted, it's good enough. But they may have to bring these chains out to double check. They are indeed. Here they come. Now, even if they didn't get it, 4th down and very short, I'd imagine they're going to go for it here.
Most definitely. They had that planned even on 3rd down, that they were going to take 2 shots here to get that first down.
Let's watch. Just short, I think. Obscured by the left leg of the official, but I think it's going to be just short.
When they look that closely, it means it's short.
Yep. You saw the football between the official's legs, and you did not see the flag or the marker. So let's see now where it is.
Looks like a chain link or two,
Yeah,
Mike.
it does look like that. Isn't that amazing? What's amazing is how exact they get when they take this measurement, but who knows if the football was ever spotted exactly a chain link away, right?
That's right, that's human error.
But I guess there's got to be some sort of cutoff.
Guess it works both ways.
Even if you said, well, it's close enough, maybe they put it too close, the ball. Who knows? But that's one of the wild things about sports, the human judgment, the human error element. It's never going to be perfect, replays or not. And there's Saucedo mishandling the snap and almost bobbling it. And it's going to be the Middlesex defense having to come out of the field as the Union defense creates enough pressure there, George, to just throw Middlesex off a little bit and get the football back.
That's the 2nd time that they had problems with the snap in short yardage situations. They tried to go for the 2 points from the 1.5 yard lines and misplayed the snap. Now they're going for first down with inches to go, and they misplayed the snap, and it cost them both times.
So 1st and 10, Union from their own 38. See who comes out at quarterback for the Union side here with under 5 minutes to go in the first half. It's going to be Dijon Allen Jordan. You don't even have to look at the jersey number.
Still fine here. Let him jet across.
Taps the leg, fakes the handoff, gets wrapped up. 38-yard line. And a nice job by the Middlesex defense getting in there. That's the nose guard, Jawan Proctor out of Middlesex, 6'2", 290. There's another small school kid making a big impact. I mean, you look at some of the schools with defensive linemen in this game, Ismail Herring from your ball club, Jamel Daniels of Old Bridge, all some big guys there. William Hairston of Woodbridge, Joe Petrofes of South Brunswick, and even Carteret of the smaller schools is kind of known for having some big boys up there. And then there's Jawan Proctor out of Middlesex, 6'2", 290, making an impact.
Certainly is. They're not moving him at all, and he's clogging up that middle. So any jet sweep fake with inside run is going to be tough for Union to execute.
2nd and 10. No gain on that play. Allen Jordan looking. Now will have to run it himself. Has nowhere to go and does pick up a few extra yards. Now gets close to a first down marker. Boy, did he make something out of nothing right there. And Middlesex has to be a little frustrated right there that Union was able to make something there, and specifically Allen Jordan. He looked like he was Looked like he was driving to the hoop on that one, to be honest with you.
Well, he really escaped problems there. He could have had a 5-yard loss, turned it into a 7-yard gain. That's just individual effort.
If it was a basketball game and not football, he'd have been dribbling that thing behind his back and between his legs to get away from defenders. I mean, that's the kind of run it looked like down that far sideline. First down, where it looked like Allen Jordan was going to take a big loss on the play.
He's jetting to the 3.
But they're now down within 3.5 minutes, as you can see on the scoreboard, which is off to our right.
Hey, he wants you to put
And what have we got here? Union taking a lot of time here. The officials are trying to get what, more time on the clock, or what are we doing here? Let's see.
What did he say? 3:41. Time back in.
They wanted more time up on the clock.
They're going to put 15 more seconds on the clock to make it 3:41. The referee called up to the booth, and they're going to make the change right now.
I think because Allen Jordan ran out of bounds, maybe on that far sideline, and the clock had gone a few extra seconds.
I think you're exactly right.
So the 3:26 we showed you is, I guess, going to change to something at some point.
Either that or they'll hold the clock and not start it, and
Okay.
then count down to 15 seconds. That's another way.
It'd be easier to do that. There you go. It's like extra time in soccer. I've never understood. You'd think with all the technology now that you could figure out how much time would be left on a clock. Because those players have no idea, to be exact, how much time they have. Now we've got flags on the play. Now you want to talk about all the traditionalists who don't want the replay in baseball. There's some traditionalism there in soccer.
Another penalty by Union, not at a good time. Now it's going to put them at 1st and 15. They're trying to get down the score before the half to make this a game, and penalties are only going to hurt them.
They've shot themselves in the foot on more than one occasion tonight, and a couple of times Middlesex has made them pay. And the times they have not, it's really been Middlesex having the momentum from those other opportunities that they've cashed in on. 1st and 15. And now Allen Jordan, and now we've got flags again. What's it going to be this time? Offense or defense? Looks like it'll be against Union again. No, yes.
Might have lined up in a neutral zone.
So now to the 39.
It's going to be 1st and 20.
But strange things can happen when you air out the football, and we've seen that in Snapple Bowls past.
The way the secondary for Middlesex has been playing, they're not going to give them anything deep. If they're going to have any success through the air, it's going to have to be underneath.
1st and 20 now. Allen Jordan has some room, runs, throws, long right side, way too long. Flag on the play. That's going to be a pass interference on Darrell Harper, who they will say held up. The receiver on the play, I believe, was Skullall.
I think he had his hands on his back as he was going for the ball, and when he twisted,
so it's only going to be on our 45.
they threw the flag. It's 1st down. It's a 15-yard penalty. Automatic 1st down.
And that will put them.
It should put them on about the 45-yard line.
Back in their own, or back in the Middlesex end of the field. And the official is saying, keep going, guys. Hope you're enjoying Snapple Bowl 19. Mike Pavlichko and George Najar along with you with 2:47 to go in this first half of play, and it's 26-7 Middlesex on top. Went for it on 4th down moments ago. Did not get it. Union took a couple of penalties.
We could use one if we have to.
False start and an offside, but we're able to get a 1st down and a pass interference on Middlesex. Now here's Allen Jordan again, wrapped up. Alex Yanizelli There's another one of yours, Mr. Najar. 61 tackles for the Bombers this season, and also 515 yards rushing on the offensive side of things. Can also punt the football, too. He came up with a big hit.
He's a special player, Alex, and we're certainly going to miss him. He does so much for our team, and he's a quiet leader, and he had a great career with us.
Second down and 13 on that TFL for Alex Yanizelli. Coming up on 2:05 to play in the second quarter. And another tackle for loss. This time it's William Hairston who comes in and makes a big stop in the backfield.
I tell you, they're pinning their ears back. They're getting after the quarterback, and the Union offensive line is having trouble with the speed of Middlesex.
James O'Rourke out of Westfield, all-Union defensive team. His coach says a kid with big heart. Nine interceptions, tops in Union County this year.
Another 3rd and 20. I don't know what you're going to do here.
Two receivers to the right, one out to the left, and Alan Jordan looks to throw. He's got a man over the middle of the field, and it's complete. Caught. No, did he get it? No.
No, that was only still have 10 more yards to go. They only picked up half of it.
Trapped it. Well, I wasn't sure if he caught it to begin with. Yeah, Dean Mulzak out of Union. My question was, did he catch it or did he trap it against the turf? And it looks like he did catch it.
They gave him the catch.
Yeah.
You got to go for it here.
He did get it, but it's going to be a 4th down and 10 now for Union, and you have to go for it under a minute, and the clock's running.
Yeah.
And you take as much time off the clock here as you can and then run the play. And that's what Union is doing, spending a lot of time in that huddle.
Well, you can't spend too much time because if you do get the first down, you need enough time to score.
That's true. That's why you're the coach.
Here's the last
now
timeout.
They call timeout. So a timeout here with 30.2 seconds to go. 26-7 Union down. But a score here gets them within 2 touchdowns because Union or Middlesex missed an extra point and missed a 2-point conversion. So a touchdown here gets you to 12 points going into the locker room. And Middlesex is going to get the ball to start the half, so you really want to score here. What do you do?
That's a tough call. It's 4th and 10. Obviously, it's a passing situation. They have a very athletic quarterback, so they have to make sure they contain him. My concern is they wasted 18 seconds. If they had the ball at 48 seconds and the clock was running and they were going to run a play, then they waited till the clock ran down, then called timeout, so they lost those 18 seconds. If they were to get the first down, the clock will stop, but then it'll start right up when ready to play, and they have no more timeouts left. So they're going to have to drive the ball within that 30-second range with no timeouts. So they're going to go into a hurry-up immediately if they do get the first down, but this is the play they have to concern themselves with.
So should have called that timeout earlier, says George Najar. We'll see if that comes back to haunt them or not. 4th and 10 from the Middlesex 46, and a bad snap. Alan Jordan back to take it. He collects it, throws left side way far out of bounds. Too far for Jovan Oliver, wide receiver out of Union, 6'1", 185. He'd have had to have been about 9 feet tall to catch that one. And even then, he might not have gotten it. And it'll be a turnover on downs. Waiting so long to call the timeout didn't cost them, but boy, you hate to see that kind of play.
We've seen multiple missed snaps today from both sides, and that's part of the problem when you get into the shotgun and you get new centers, new quarterbacks, guys who are unfamiliar with each other. Unfortunately, it's inherent in these kind of games.
And when you have 2 quarterbacks who are 9 inches apart in height, Cornegay at 5'8", Alan Jordan at 6'5", and it's hard to snap it over a guy who's 6'5". That's not an easy thing to do. Middlesex will let this clock run out, and we will come to the half. And it'll be the Middlesex All-Stars on top here on their home turf, if you will, in Middlesex County here in East Brunswick. 26-7, the Middlesex All-Stars lead Union at the half of Snapple Bowl 19.
Let's do it again for both cheer squads.